Galala, the first citizen of this province. Ngibingelele the honorable MECs, Ubaba Upile kanye no Mama Usithole Moloyi. Ngibingelele ekseni our host mayor, his worship Ubaba esingaye Ubaba uThebola kanye no Mama Upungula from the district to councillor. Inkosi yaseNdlunkulu ngibingelele Ubaba uChiliza kanye nenkosi uMajozi, Ubaba represent inkosi represent the Umgungundlovu traditional house. Mangibiyelele nonke igama lami uNhlakanipho Nkontwana, the HOD ye department ye economic development, tourism and environmental affairs. Ngibingelele nonke nabafowethu nabodadewethu kanye nezitatanyiswe ezikhona kule ndawo. Ngithi angibingelele especially esingabo namhlanje the beneficiaries of this program. Mangibonge ithuba engilinikezwe by the leadership of the province to program direct this event. This is one of the biggest events in this province that demonstrate that this province cares. Kukuthi lo hulumeni yababhekelela abantu sesibonile nabangakaboni basazobona. Nginibingelela nonke naboza kwethu esebenza nabo kwahulumeni. Sesiyaliqala ke uhlelo lwethu ke manje. Bengicela nje ukusho ukuthi si sebenza ngaphansi kohlelo lwe COVID-19 ukuthi kufanelekile ukuthi ke siqikelele nje ukuthi social distancing siphinde futhi si sanitize lapha ya senze sure ukuthi yonke into ihamba right ngoba ukuphila ikona okubalekile. Lo hulumeni lo wenza ufuna ukuthi niphile nonke nihlale futhi njengezakhamizi zakule province eziphephile. Sesiliqala ke lolu hlelo kula namhlanje ngokuzithoba. Ngizocela ukuthi ke siqale ke nge-national anthem okuyihubo lesizwe. Siyayithi ke mesilenza ke siyake sisukume abafowethu befaka igqoko cha baziphatha ngezandla ngaphandle komama kuphela. Ngizocela abafowethu lapha abanemshini baqale.
Morena, 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 morena,
Siyabonga kakhulu. Ngizothatha ke leli thuba ukwethula izitatanyiswa zethu ke sosuku namhlanje. Ngizoqala ngokwethula undunankulu wethu, the Honorable Premier ubaba uzikalala. Siyabonga ndunankulu ukuthi ube nathi usilide namhlanje, as you always do, and we appreciate. Sibonga kakhulu. Ngiphinde ngibingelele ungqongqoshe ubaba uRavi Pillay. Ngibingelele ungqongqoshe wezolimo umama uSithole Moloyi. Ngibingelele usihlalo wendlu yamakhosi lapho kwaZulu Natali, inkosi ubaba uChiliza. Siyakhuleka. Ngiphinde futhi ngibingelele inkosi uMajozi omele umgungundlovu house, indlu ye-traditional leadership kule ndawo esikuyo. Ngiyabingelela. Ngiphinde futhi ngibingelele our host mayor, your worship, ubaba uThebola esingaye baba uMayor. Ngiphinde futhi ngibingelele the district mayor wethu umama uMaphumulo. Siyabingelela. Ngibingelele kanye ke namanye amakhansela kanye nezikhulu esinazo. Bengibingelele ngingakhohlwa ke kubingelele singabo namhlanje okuyikhona abathe babakhona abahlomulile. Nginibingelela nonke ningabantu basemgungundlovu. Siyabonga ukuthi sibe nani. Siyabonga ukuthi nisebenzisane kanye nathi futhi uhulumeni waKwaZulu Natali. Sinibingelele. Siphinde sibingelele nabafowethu, the senior leaders, public servants, ngey'gaba zabo ngokwehlukana kwabo. Sengithi angibingelele, and other leaders of the community that are here with us. Ngithi siyabonga, ngiyanibingelela. Ngingasapholisanga amaseko siqhube kwazise ukuthi ngokwe-COVID-19 kufanele isikhathi sethu sisheshe sikwazi ukuthi sigcine uhlelo njengoba lalibekwe umongameli ubaba Ramaphosa ukuthi kufuna sisebenze ngesikhathi esifishane kuze sigweme lelu gciwane esibhekene nalo elebizwa nge-COVID-19. Ke ngizohlabela mgama sengizocela ngibize umama wethu ukhansela umeya we-district, ukhansela Maphumulo ukuthi ke azosemukela namhlanje njengoba sikule ndawo. Ngiyabonga kakhulu. Over to you.
Ngibonge Program Director ithuba ongipha lona. Ngiqale ngokubingelela our Honorable Premier of KwaZulu Natal ubaba uKhuzeni. Ama MECs ethu akhona ubaba Ravi Pillay, umama uSithole Moloyi walapha ku agriculture. Siphinde sithi kubaba uRavi Pillay, siyabonga ukuba no champion ofana nawe kwi district ekuthaneni ukwazi ukusebenzisana nazo zonke inhlelo ezikhona kwi district yethu. Honorable Mayor ubaba uThebola, siyabonga ukuthi ube ingxenye yalomsebenzi. Traditional leaders ezikhona ngibona la kuthiwa kukhona ubaba uChiliza, kukhona unkosi uMajozi. Siyabonga ukuthi nibe khona nathi. All media houses akhona ngiyanibingelela ngiphinde ngibingelele bonke osingabo abakhona la kulomcimbi namhlanje. Ngifisa ukusho ukuthi lo mcimbi esikuwona umcimbi obaluleke ngendlela emangalisayo. Uma sibheka isimo esiphuma kusona se-COVID-19 ivale ngehlahla, abantu bethu balahlekelwe imisebenzi, mabhizinisi avalwa, obaba nomama bebesebenza eindaweni ezehlukene baluze imisebenzi. So i-operation Vula uma ifika sengathi singayibamba sonke ngezandla ngendlela yokuthi sifisa ukuthi siphindele esimweni esasiyisona futhi sibe ngaphezulu kwalokho esasiyikona ingakafiki i-COVID. Ngifisa ukubonga our government elidwa uPresident ubaba uRamaphosa at a national level bese kuthi up le province yethu sibonge ubaba uZikalala kanye necabinet yakhe yonke ekuthaneni uma behleli bestrategize bebuka ukuthi izinto kufanele zenzeke kanjani, bakubone kubalekile ukuthi batakule abantu bakithi kuyo yonke lenkinga esibhekene nayo. Through Operation Vula Fund, I'm very positive that we are going to be able to provide customized assistance targeted at individual businesses that are through to provide greater economic development benefits, especially in rural areas, as poverty remains a challenge in many rural communities. Unemployment remains high in these communities. Along with lower income and wealth, the rate of business startup in these areas senu samabhizinisi nizosenza sibe ngcono ngaphezulu kwalokho okade kuyikona nisebenzisana nama-officials from different departments ukwenza isimo salapha kule district sishintshe kulesi simo esikusona. Ngiyabonga kakhulu. Seningawakhumula amabhantshi nibuze la nifuna ukubuza khona, nikhululeke nibe sekhaya. Ngiyabonga.
usihlalo wendlu yobukhosi ukuthi ize ngaphambili for a message of support. Ndaba ezinhle.
Angibingelele mphathi wohlelo, sibonge kakhulu ithuba ndunankulu wesifundazwe Mhlonishwa Khuzeni, Mhlonishwa osiphathele ezokuthuthukiswa komnotho kulesi sifundazwe Ravi Pillay, Mama uMasithole Mloyi osiphathele ezolimo kulesi sifundazwe, izimeya ezihloniphekile, imeya yalapha eMgungundlovu, imeya yaseMsunduzi, inhloko zomnyango ezikhona, osomabhizinisi abancane nabakhulu abakhona, ikakhulu egameni lendlu yamakhosi siyafisa ukuqala ndunankulu ngokhalalisa nokuncoma umbono ofana nalo. Ngiyakhumbula nje ngomhla ka-27 kuJune 2017 this operation Vula fund yalonjwa ngapha eHerigwala kuqondana nokulonjwa kweRaset, abuya amathemba kubantu kosehloniphekile yakwamajozi elapha esigabeni sokusiholela ubukhosi kulesi sifundazwe. Siyafuna ukuqinisekisa ndunankulu isupport yethu njengendlu yobukhosi kuwo wonke ama-initiatives that asuke enenhloso yokuqinisekisa ukuthi abantu bakithi bayakwazi ukungena kwi-mainstream ye-economy, because that is important. Isimo esisuka kuso isimo lapho kwakungathi yonke into was designed for abantu abathile, but uma kunembono efana nale nezokwenza ukuthi kuzolekeleleka abantu lapha phansi emalokishini, emakhaya, kuzo zonke indawo ukuze bakwazi ukuba ingxenye yomnotho, sikhalalisela kakhulu lokho ngoba kuzofukula umnotho ikakhulu during this difficult time of COVID-19 where abantu belahlekele khona imisebenzi. But siyafisa ukuthi ndunankulu nethimba lonke ningabi apologetic ekulekeleleni abantu abamnyama, ngoba ibona abantu ebebethwele kanzima nabasathwele kanzima. Ngiyazi ukuthi ke kuthi mase kukhulunywa nje kuthiwe awu kodwa noloko nakhala ngobandlululo, nakhala ngobandlululo nasemva ko-27 years, hey siyokhala ngaloko ze kuphela 100 years. Uma insalela zalo zisekhona kusabonakala ukuthi kukhona okungahambi kahle, iqiniso ukuthi abantu bakithi siyafisa ukubabona bengena emnothweni be-own amabhizinisi amakhulu, bengafrantile kuwukuthi yibo aba-owner lawo mabhizinisi, ngoba yileyo nto esifuna ukuyibona yenzeka. Sibonga kakhulu ukuba ingxenye yomsebenzi onjenganalo. Siyafisa ukuthi sengathithi kungaba khona ikakhulu ndunankulu enye into efike uthola ukuthi ikhubaza kube ngathi kunama-initiative amahle kangaka kodwa abantu ababonakali besondela. These red tapes fike kunezinto umhlonishwa kwa-agriculture khona into yakuyenzeka komunye unyaka kuthiwa kulekelelwa abantu ababeshayekile isomiso nababefuna ukulekelelwa emfuyweni. Wathi uyayifunda angayithola nje ifomu yakhona, wabona ukuthi hey abantu ababedizana lento babe neplan yokurevive ama-farm abamhlophe ayifile ngeyikhathi ezithile makuzothiwa ukuze sikusize fanele ube nedamu libe libiyiwe ngathi ngiyabuka nje ngaqalaza emadungeni ngathi ayekho ozothola kulento. So siyafisa ukuthi ama initiative afana nalawa emqondweni kube khona lento othi sizolekelela abantu abamnyama abangenalutho abafisa ukungena esigabeni esithile. Kukhona izinto okuzofuna sibatakule uze babe nazo ukuze bakwazi ukufika esigabeni esithile. Siyabonga.
Sibonge kusihlalo inkosi yasemadongeni. Sibonga kakhulu ngomyalezo osiqinisayo sinikeza ithemba ukuthi cha singalinge nje sibe ashamed ukuthi silekelela abantu abamnyama ukuze nabo bakwazi ukuthi babe yingxenye yomnotho walelizwe. Sibonga kakhulu ngalawo mazwi asinikeza nathi ithemba ukuthi siqhubekele phambili. Siyabonga kakhulu. Sizobeke sesiyaqhubeka ke manje sizoke sidlaleke njena ke umbukiso bathi video abafundile yalabo abahlomulile kulezi insiza ezinikezelwe nguhulumeni othanda abantu. Ngizonikeza ke kubafowethu lapha bazosidlalela ke over to you.
The KwaZulu-Natal government is accelerating economic transformation through the Operation Vula program. The KwaZulu-Natal government is accelerating economic transformation through the Operation Vula program. Operation Vula Fund was conceived to support small businesses by procuring plant, machinery and equipment that they need to advance their business operations to sustain and create jobs.
Ungisize kakhulu ekutheni anginikeze imshini le ikwazi ukuthi ngenze ama-center okwenza umsebenzi lo.
Umnyango waka-Economic Development ungisize kakhulu ngamathuluzi okusebenza asisize ngawo ngenxa yokuthi ngaphambilini ikhono lethu noma amandla ethu abenqindekile ngongango kwamathuluzi okusebenza bekade sinawo.
Operation Vula is one of the developmental policy directives of the KwaZulu-Natal provincial government to fast-track socio-economic change to specifically accommodate the historically marginalized sections of the population, especially businesses owned by youth, women, people with disabilities and military veterans.
We've come a long way with the Department of Economic Development, wherein they've supported the primary cooperative that supplies us with infrastructure and training.
Ibhekula bakery, ibhaka isinkwa, ibhaka namakheke. Lo mkhiqizo esiwenzayo sihambe sideliver laba abanamashop emaduzane.
Some builder trading is small tool hire esebenza ngamathuluzi lawa amancane eqashisa ngawo out like ama tools like ama generator, ama worker, ama breaker, ama water pumps, speed compactors kanye nama grinder amancane ama drill.
Siyathunga lonke uhlobo lama uniform. Kungaba ojele, kungaba isesibhedlela, all ama public sectors. We are ready ukuthi siwa provide ngama uniforms.
I-project yami yama cabbage nama butternut. So those are my two main vegetables that I'm dealing with since I started this business in 2018.
Since the first window opened in September 2019, we received 4,229 applications across all 3 tiers. 1,309 of those were recommended for due diligence, and that process is now complete. To date, 1,024 applications have been approved for funding.
Igama le-company yethu i-Markjoy Aquaphonic sidila nge-fish farming. Kwi-fish farming ila khona sikhulisa o-fish, sibenze ukuthi babe bakhulu bese mase babakhulu bese siyabadayisa mhlambe kwama-B&B nama-hotels.
I-IT student ngenxa yokungawatholi amathuba omsebenzi ngabona ukuthi kufanele ngiqale ibhizinisi elibase for ukuthi ngikwazi ukwenza izinto zakwa-IT
Ngiqale ukufuya ngoba ngikhulele ekhaya vele ebelifuya, ngikhulisa ugogo wami ubefuya kakhulu. Kusho ukuthi uthando lwami ke lokufuya luqale khona lapho ke ngaqhubeka ke ngafuya noma ugogo wami sehambile ngaze ngakhula ke sengifuyela ibhizinisi.
Ezinye izinto eziphathelene ne-technology ayitholakali kalula kangangokuthi mangabe uthi ufuna uyoprinta i-document ozofika uyiprinte ngo-R2 kufanele ugibele ngo-R50, R25 ukuya, R25 ukubuya uyoprinta into ka-R2. So thina sibuye siprovide i-internet cafe ngale ukuze ngisho usobabhizinisi efuna uku-access ama-emails akhe uyakwazi ukuza la afike angene kwikhompyutha noma simprintele lokho asobe efuna ukuprinta. Siyathunga lana, sithungela iy'kole, sithungela ama-uniform noma nomphakathi lokho ofuna ukuthi uthungele kona.
U-Operation Vula ungisize kakhulu ngoba iy'celo zami bengiy'fakile ngikhonile ukusizakala ngazo. Abanye suppliers bayakonfirma ukuthi basazongidilivela, okunye njengoba bekuyi-COVID bayachaza ukuthi bazodileya but zona iy'celo ziphumelele.
The COVID-19 pandemic has caused great damage to our economy. It is time now to rise and unleash a new economy that will create and preserve jobs. Operation Vula is one of the instruments that government is using to provide support to small businesses. Send your inquiries to info@operationvula.gov.za. Operation Vula, brought to you by the KwaZulu-Natal Provincial Government. Growing KwaZulu-Natal together.
Sibonge kakhulu kubafowethu nodadewethu abasiqophele lo mbukiso esanda kubona. Ngempela lo hulumeni wakithi waKwaZulu-Natal uyasebenza. Wona ke umsebenzi kahulumeni uyabonakala. Abangakaboni ke ayibasazobona. Kuyagijinywa la kwaZulu akudlalwa. So qhubela phambili. We're going to call upon Honorable MEC Pillay, the MEC for Economic Development, Tourism and Environmental Affairs, to come to the podium and introduce the Honorable Premier. Over to you, Honorable MEC.
Thank you very much, Program Director, HOD Nkontwana, our Premier Sishle Zikalala, MEC, my colleague, MEC Strola Molloy, Ndabazita Nkosi Tkaliza, Nkosi Majozi, our mayors, Mayor Mapumulo and Mayor Tebola, councillors who are present, officials of the various departments that made this possible. Most importantly, the beneficiaries who are here today. You represent a battalion, a new battalion that's going into war in building our economy. And we hope that you succeed, and I'm sure that you, while you appreciate, we're also looking to you to set the example, to succeed, to inspire many, 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 many others. So it's a big day for us in KwaZulu-Natal. It's been a long time coming. It is a very important part of our economic recovery plan. In fact, we say it's economic recovery, reconstruction, and transformation. So when we talk about transformation, we have to talk about practical things that we are doing, and this is a very, very important pillar of that program. Of course, it's no small thing, Premier, when between now and the end of July, there'll be over 1,000 SMMEs who would have received the benefit of this program. 1,000 beneficiaries all across the province, and that must have impact. That must create new jobs. The world over, it is said in developed countries, 80% of the jobs, or up to 80% of the jobs, are created by SMMEs. So this task that the beneficiaries have is a critical one for the future of our province and our country. Of course, this is the launch of the rollout. Many have received the benefit already, but we will then go to each district, and each MEC champion will do a launch of the rollout in their district in a similar way under COVID-19 conditions, where we unfortunately have to restrict the numbers. Of course, there are various types, and I don't want to take away from the Premier's speech, where we'll explain Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3, the 200,000, and then going up to those who will get equipment to the value of 2 million. And of course, those we will expect more of them in terms of job creation and production. You know, I will say a bit about, I'm introducing the Premier, but the Premier has been the passionate originator of this idea, pushing it over time, conceptualizing it, putting in place capacity to make it happen. And he is best placed to speak with authority about it. But I do want to say, Premier, that under your guidance, leadership, and instruction, that this is not the end, it's actually the beginning. So we will want, and the beneficiaries must know this, as a department, we will want to come and visit you and see how you are doing. Firstly, to see this machinery is there, it's being used for the purpose for which it was requested. But secondly, to see how you are developing to become a successful and sustainable small enterprise. We look at things like your operational side. We want to look strongly at your financial management. We want to look even more strongly at your access to market. Because if you are making things, then you must be able to sell it at a price that makes your business sustainable. So who are you selling to, and how we can maximize the access? This morning we visited a business, which I'm sure, Premier, I was also very happy to learn that they've got orders from government departments. And so a message to all other government departments is how are you going to support our enterprises with access to market? But Premier, again under your leadership, it's not only government departments. We make the call again to the private sector as a whole. They must consciously set aside purchases from the enterprises that we are supporting, that they must be equally a part of the access to market. And in due course, we will celebrate those who are doing it. We will publicly praise them, but we'll also challenge those who are not prepared to come to the party on it. And we're making the appeal to all of them to support this program and be part of what we call the access to market. There will be those who were not successful in the application, because the reason we had this process, because we said we want to be fair and transparent. We want people to compete for the best and most deserving to get it. And I hope that you, as the beneficiaries today, can classify yourselves as amongst the best and most deserving. But those who are not successful should not lose hope. Because one of the things we're going to do in the near future is do an analysis of the reasons for those who are not successful, why they were not successful. And then we're going to engage them, to report to them, but then also help them to overcome those difficulties which prevented them from being successful this time round. And in due course, God willing, we will have a new window for a new opportunity for those and others who might not even have known about it over time. So this is a key part. This is what Premier is always saying. We don't want to import things, we want to produce it ourselves. That's going to be the real test of ourselves as a successful, productive nation. Yes, we are part of the world and we want to sell our things to the world, But things that we can make ourselves, we don't need to buy from any other country. We want to make it ourselves. So this key challenge of building a productive, localized economy is what this is all about. And Vula is a key pillar of that economic recovery plan and building the productive economy. But it's not my place to give a long speech. It's my task to introduce the Premier, who needs no introduction, a passionate leader, a driving leader, a visionary leader. And as I indicated earlier on, it was the Premier who conceptualized it, who drove the implementation and continues to drive it. Of course, the Premier is passionate about education, and we always want to boast that he is a graduate with a master's degree and would want to even take his studies further. And that's the message to the beneficiaries. It's my pleasure and honor to invite our Premier to deliver the keynote address. Thank you, Premier.
Thanks. Let's be seated. Thank you, colleagues. Program Director, HOD, Nkontwane, Nkosi yesizwe, sihlalo wecontralesa, nosihlalo wendlu yamakhosi, lapha KwaZulu Natal, Nkosi Madungeni, Nkosi yesizwe siyabingelela. Inkosi Majozi, sihlalo wendlu lapha eMgungundlovu sibingelele. MEC Pillay, who is the MEC for Economic Development, Tourism and Environmental Affairs. MEC Stole Mloyi, MEC for Agriculture and Rural Development. Her Worship Councillor Mapumulo, the Mayor of the District of Mgungundlovu. His Worship, the Mayor of Msunduze, Councillor Tibola, senior managers within various departments, especially Economic Development and the Premier's Office, CEOs of our entities, of our public entities, Osungaye, the beneficiaries who are with us today. Ladies and gentlemen, we've converged here in an extraordinary occasion. I call it an extraordinary occasion because it marks the commencement of the massive rollout of disbursement of business instrument through Operation Vula Fund. The Operation Vula Fund rollout took place during an important month, a month that has been marked as the Youth Month in our country. It took place on the eve of the 66th anniversary of the Freedom Charter, which was adopted in Kliptown on the 26th of June, 1955. It was the Congress of the People which adopted the Freedom Charter, and that Freedom Charter asserted that South Africa belongs to all who live in it, black and white. They also boldly stated that in future, the democratic South Africa, the people of South Africa shall share in the country's wealth. So since 1994, the ANC-led government has been working hard with all sections of the society to deepen the national democratic revolution in favor of the blacks in general and Africans in particular. Side by side with the people, we have been implementing programs and policies to achieve the ideal of a South Africa which is united, non-racial, equal, democratic, and prosperous. Of course, despite many achievements of our democratic states, which include expanding access to education, water, electricity, health, housing, social security through social grants, many of our people still live in poverty, without jobs, and less economic empowerment opportunities. Thus, as we commemorate the 45th anniversary of June 16, the youth uprising, we know that we are faced with a high level of unemployment, which negatively and disappropriately affect the youth of our country. These have been compounded by COVID-19, exacerbating the level of unemployment. And therefore, for us in KwaZulu-Natal, we advance radical socio-economic transformation to address, firstly, the legacy of the apartheid colonial system, but secondly, we are now compelled to use the very same instrument, the radical socio-economic transformation, to ensure that we restructure the economy post-COVID-19. So igama le radical economic transformation kumele sil-understande ngokuyikho. Akusho kona ukuphuca abanye abantu imisebenzi abayenzayo. Akusho kona ukuphoqa ukunikezelwa imisebenzi. Kodwa kusho ukusebenzisa indlela eziyizo ukuvula amathuba emisebenzi for abantu bakithi ukuthi bathole ispace baparticipate kulawo mathuba emisebenzi. And in this regard, Operation Vula is KwaZulu-Natal's overarching program to fundamentally transform the patterns of economic ownership by bringing in the previously marginalized group into the mainstream economy. It is a fund to realize the policy imperative of the government, which is the radical socio-economic transformation. We view Operation Vula to be the provincial practical vehicle to mobilize all sectors of the economy toward achieving meaningful economic transformation. Operation Vula is intended to use the government procurement to open space for black entrepreneurs. And through Operation Vula, when we conceptualize it, we said we will have commodities that were identified, which we will try by all means to promote within those commodities the participation So these included the bakery, clothing and textile, furniture, pulp and paper, including digitants, fertilizer and construction. The Operation Vula Fund is the backbone of the KwaZulu-Natal Economic Recovery Plan, We have established various work streams to creating jobs. These include agriculture, industrial development, health, innovation and manufacturing, clothing and textile, creative industry, informal sector, investment and trade, infrastructure development, tourism, fourth industrial revolution, and services, especially finance. To save life and livelihood, KwaZulu-Natal and our country will continue to work with all stakeholders, including the private sector, to secure adequate intervention to ensure that we navigate and protect the lives of our people during this era of the pandemic. It is because of that reason that we would like to encourage all people to follow the non-pharmaceutical measures to prevent the spread of COVID-19. But we equally encourage people to ensure that they take part in the vaccination so that we reach the population immunity. We are intensifying efforts to implement economic restructuring or reconstruction and recovery plan, and to advance radical economic transformation. For this to happen, we will continue to support infrastructure-led development in KwaZulu-Natal and promote international trade while taking advantage of export opportunities provided by the African Continental Free Trade Area. And therefore, the disbursement of these SMME support grant from Operation Vula Fund is set to give impetus to the economic restructuring, recovery, and transformation. Thus, over the next couple of weeks, all MECs will visit their district to hand over business instruments to support applicants who had applied from this fund. In this unprecedented rollout drive, we will allocate equipment with a combined value of 300 million to more than 1,000 SMMEs. And I think that needs a big round hand of applause. Maybe before we proceed, I must concede that the allocation of Operation Vula Fund grants have taken longer than expected. We understand the frustration that have been brought to hundreds of applicants who for many months were in the dark about statuses of their application. And this was due, the delay were mainly as a result of due diligence process which had to be undertaken. The process was also disrupted by the COVID-19 eruption. And therefore, we would want to be clear to all people, we will ensure that we support all of those who benefited. Let me then take time to explain. Firstly, we are here saying there are about 1,000 beneficiaries who are going to benefit. There were about 4,000 applicants or 3,000 applicants. And therefore you will ask, what will happen about the rest? We have agreed as government that we will have a program which will focus on them. and try to ensure that those who were not successful, firstly, they are informed why they were not successful. Secondly, they get assisted to improve on areas where they were found weak. Hence, they could not succeed. So it's not a question of saying you didn't succeed, go home. But we're going to say, in this district of Umkungundlovu, this was the number of applicants, and meet those applicants and say you didn't succeed because of 1, 2, 3. And we would like you to be part of the program that will develop you in this particular area or areas. That is the first that we would want to say and make it clear. So akekho umuntu esizomshiya ngaphandle. Labo abangaphumelelanga bazokwazisa ukuthi kungani. Mase futhi balekelelwe ukuthi bakwazi ukuthi izinto ezikhande ukuthi bangaphumeleli bafundiswe balekelelwe ukuimprovewa kuzo ukuze next time ba-applye bakwazi ukuphumelela nabo. Kulabo abaphumelele, firstly, we're going to allocate the instruments and equipment to assist them. But that will not be our first and last engagement. Firstly, no one among those who have benefited has a right to sell the equipment he got from Operation Vula. If the business fails, that equipment must be returned back to government. The second thing, no one among you is going to leave and disappear. As MEC Pillay indicated, time and again we will be interacting. We will interact through government inspections. We will interact through dedicated sessions where we will sit and say, what are your frustrations? How are you performing? Are you succeeding or not? How can we help you to succeed if you are facing challenges? We're saying so because before the end of the month of July, we will be meeting as government with beneficiaries of KZN Youth Business Fund, which we launched 2 years ago. And at the inception of that fund, we launched it with the grant of 70 million, 50 million from the Premier's office, and 50 million from the Department of Economic Development. We would want to see all of those 61 entities that benefited from that fund before the end of the month of July. And we will want to give them at least, each of them, not less than 5 to, yes, we will want to give them at least 10 minutes each to tell us how he or she is performing. Because for us as government, it's not a question of throwing money, but it's a question of ensuring economic emancipation. And that's why we are saying Operation Vula should be implemented holistically, HOD, holistically, Mr. Mchal. And when we say holistically, we mean we should support by equipment, but the support through equipment and financial support is not enough. All of those who have been supported should then be trained, should be subjected to incubation up until they are able to stand on their own. We should know that now they can be able to manage their operations, they can be able to run their financial management, and they can be able on their own to market themselves. So it is a support through this grant. It should be the support through incubation. It is going to be a support through ensuring accessible and sustainable market. I'm using the word accessible and sustainable market because access is important. But for any business to succeed, access must mean you are able to access the market and still make profit. And then you become more sustainable. And therefore, we will want to work with all beneficiaries around these areas. It's an area of getting equipment to work. It's an area of ensuring that we get training and incubation. It's an area of ensuring that you get sustainable and accessible market that is viable. And that's why we are even saying the more focus of this program should be on those who are producing, because production, which is in essence linked to manufacturing, grows easy and it's sustainable going forward. And I'm sure that the presence of the CEO from Dube Trade Port here should inspire those who are manufacturing in agriculture to feed to their facility there and export to other countries in Africa. And I'm sure that the presence of the CEO of Itala must make us link with the program of school nutrition which is supported there, and then you feed. So we will encourage more participation of black businesses on areas that are about production. And we are encouraged to see some who are in clothing and textile. And as we leave from here, when we conduct the evaluation tomorrow in the Executive Council, we should be impressing on the MEC Mshengu and HOD from education that we should now begin to give space for those to benefit from uniforms and others. Inspired among us, it's MEC Mloyi, who must from today say, for protective clothes, we are now going to start focusing and sourcing from these SMMEs that are in this space. And as such, those who are dealing with our leaders in the local government must equally say this is the role we are going to play. We are coming with this package deliberately so because the industries that are big today were built deliberately. Nkosi yesizwe, Nkosi yasemadungeni, ngiyafuna ukubonga. Amazwi akho are encouraging. Because sometimes the attack we get if we support Africans and blacks in general give us isolation uzufile ngathi into yenza wrong. And your words that says ngisho kuthiwana abamnyama babecindezelwe namanje asibalekelele ayasilekelela ayas-encourage. But we would want to emphasize we want sustainable economic initiatives. Well, I argued earlier and I was a bit defeated practically, and I must concede and apologize, MEC Pillay. I argued with the mayor and MEC Pillay about one printing company, and I said, no, I don't believe this is a sustainable one. And then they said, okay, let's go there. And then we went there, and I found that the company is very sustainable. It has a history of more than 5 years. And then they then said to me, we are even supplying your office, by the way. So I said, this is what is sustainable, you know. And from the morning I was like, and the level in which they will present themselves, you will say, hey, labantu bayayazi lento. They will show the know-how of their business. It's not that they will say, hayi business yethu le kodwa ake sicele nangu uSmith present. They take you through everything. And that's what we want. Let us build knowledge on what we are doing. But we are going to review the process. We need to review the process to close policy gaps if there are policy gaps. We need to review the process to ensure that everyone who benefits stays and remain accountable, because this is the public funds. It's not about us. It is the contribution we are making to empower the small businesses so that they grow. So we want to say, we're not here for the first and the last day. We're expecting here that jobs that will emerge from Tier 1 will be 9,083. And jobs to be created from Tier 2 will be 175. And jobs that will be created from Tier 3 will be 1,558. We're quantifying this because we have been able to assess that from this initiative, one by one, this is the allocation needed, but these are jobs that are potentially expected. And therefore, we're in this program for ourselves, and I can say that our inspection at Kijima Printers and what we saw today was inspiring. As a government that has already invested in this business, we need to lead by example by also sourcing from these companies that we support. We also wish to encourage communities from around to buy local. It is important that we begin to buy local. Not because we have been affected by lockdown and access to international market, but deliberately to promote our own product. Local is lekker. And therefore it is time. It was time to buy what was said made in US. It was time to buy made in China, but we now want what is made in Africa, made in South Africa, made in KwaZulu-Natal. As I emphasize, skills and capacity gap audit will be conducted on regular basis, and all beneficiaries will be subjected to training with appropriate institutions such as TVET colleges that we have. So be assured that the government of KwaZulu-Natal remain committed to radical economic transformation. We have a plan to save lives. We have a plan to save livelihood. We also have a plan to revitalize the economy, grow it, and ensure that it benefits all our people who belongs to South Africa as the Freedom Charter asset. The Operation Vula Fund and all interventions of radical economic transformation remains the program to overhaul the system that perpetuates inequality, unemployment, and poverty. We want an economy that will benefit all its citizens, irrespective of their class, gender, race, and spatial location. We are unequivocal that transformation should be characterized by meaningful participation of everyone in the economy. We are clear that those who are historically disadvantaged should be at the epicenter of development. Now, I just want to address a few points that have been raised earlier. And some are saying, no, radical economic transformation is discriminating others. We want to be clear. We are focusing on SMMEs, as a start, but more on blacks, because blacks in general were the ones who were oppressed. And if you go through the list of the beneficiaries, you will see Africans, Indians in particular, and I think there are coloreds who are there. So I was asked by somebody who phoned from Western Cape and say, is this program about isolating and discriminating others? No. But the fact remains, we have to support Africans, blacks, but more women, youth, people with disability, and to a certain extent, those who could not have time to develop themselves because they left their homes to fight for freedom. To all our successful entrepreneurs, please remember that we trust you and have faith in all of you. We're truly invested in your success, and we want to see you all running profitable enterprises that are creating employment and hope for the people of KwaZulu-Natal. We know that you will make it. This investment will multiply and create more opportunities for others. Indeed, we must grow together. Asisukume sivule umnotho. Siubuyisele kubo bonke abantu, especially labo ababencishwe amathuba. Kuyashesha nge-Operation Vula, kuyashesha, and we say economic freedom in our lifetime. Let's grow KwaZulu-Natal together. I thank you.
Sibonge ndunankulu wethu esimthandayo ngalawo mazwi siphe wona indlela icacile, and leadership has been provided. There's no reason for us to doubt as to where we're going and what we're doing. Kuyashesha ke nge-Operation Vula. Ndunankulu has said it. This is an accountable government. We'll be going back to those that did not make it and try and work with them. This is the government of the people, by the people. So, lo hulumeni awuzihambeli nje, uhamba nabantu. Sibonge kakhulu ndunankulu, sibonge ngamazwi anobuhlakani, sibonge nge-leadership osipha yona. Sizibongele nathi sonke sigcwele la usilida, siyaphambili kasihlehlele emuva. Hayi ke yoma ngaphambi kwethu uzobona ukuthi kuzokwenzakalani. Sibonga kakhulu. Sizobe sesiyaqhubha njengoba nazi ukuthi uCovid elisekhona sibambe isikhathi. This is an accountable and responsible government. Siyasigcina isikhathi. So sizobe sesiqhubela phambili ke sesiya kwi-handover session. Ngizokulichaza kuhle lesolilandela ukuthi kuzohamba kanjani. Indlela esoyenza ngayo la ngokubambisana ngizocela undunankulu okuyena ozoba ngaphambili no-MEC Pile kanye no-MEC Sithole Moloyi bazokwazi ukuthi beze ngaphambili. Nenkosi yasemadongeni usihlalo weContralesa, hey ngaze ngihlawule phela ngayishiya kanjani inkosi mina ke gogwami uzala umadongeni, so ngeke ngilenze lelo phutha ngizawulimala. Ngizobe Yeah, ngicabanga ukuthi yeah singasebenzisa mhlambe le platform bese ngicela udadewethu ozosiza ngaphambili kanye no DDG Mkhize kuyibona abazonikezela ngamasheke sizothi mase sisuka ke lapho bese siya la ngasemuva nje banibonile khona imoto ezibhakiwe la sizobe ke sesiyozibonisa ke mase sisuka lapho so beke sesiya ngaphakathi kulabo ke abazothola izinsiza ke kusho ukuthi uhlelo lethu lizoba igaba ezintathu kuzoba yilolu lamasheke bese kuba yilolu lokubonisa izimoto bese ke kuba ke yiloliyana ke lokugcina ke lalabo abakhona ngiyabonga. Oh yes her worship and his worship ngasondela sizozama nje sizozama kuyibambe social distancing sizobona senze njani indawo nje bayinkinga kodwa ke sizoma ukwenza kanjalo khabaze
sibingelele kuzo zonke izicukuthwane zethu njengoba kade seyihloniphiwe zihola undunankulu wesifundazwe ondaba ezitha inkosi yasemadungeni inkosi uMajozi o-MEC bethu bobabili u-MEC Philey no-MEC Moloyi kanye nemeya zethu mama uMaphumulo kanye nobaba uThebula ibo bonke o-CO abakhona nama-officials. Sesiqala ke uhlelo kumcimbi kuyiwona esingawo kakhulu la ngizocacisa ukuthi njengoba sila esizoqala ngabo esinabo la kuleli hall sizoqala ngo tier 2 tier 2 ilabo aba between 200,000 and 1 rand kuya ku 500,000 bese tier 3 ilaba abaqala ku 500,000 and 1 rand kuze kufike ku 2 million. Sizoqala ngabo ke sibanike bona bazothola amasheke atshengisa ukuthi inani abazolithola nempahla esizoba delivera zona within isikhathi esingangamasonto amathathu kusuka la. Sizothi mase siqedileke khona bangekho la tier 1 ngenxa ye COVID regulations bahleli khona ngapha bangasho ukuthi sebeshiwe bona sizothi mase siqedile la bese sigxila kuona ku tier 1 impahla zabo zingapha ezinye zingapha ngemuva. Ngizobiza amagama ke bengizocela khona kuzokwazi ukuthi kusheshe masiwabiza ama beneficiaries ngizobiza nga3 basondele babe ngapha bazoba kodadewethu bazothatha letter of award kanye bese bethatha ke nesheke elitshengisa inani abazokwazi ukuthi balithole. Sizohamba kanjalo ke ngizobiza icompany bese ngisho nokuthi icompany lapha bese beyasukuma kama representatives awo besitsheliwe ke ukuthi obani abakhona la beze ngaphambili. Sesiyaqala ke sizoqala ngo tier 2 ku tier 2 la eMgungundlovu abaphumelele babe babili oqala uqhawekazi styles collection aba kwi clothing and textile sector besocela i representative yabo besitshela ukuthi uMthokozi Sikhanyile uyena obamele. Olandelayo belandela iMove cleaning services ekwi general cleaning services ikuma chemicals and detergents. Fortunately both these sectors njengoba undunankulu beseshilo zikwi operation Vula commodities. Mr Mthanti Andile asondele. Siyabonga ilona thatha iMove sesiyadlula ke sidlulela phambili siya ku tier 3 sebeshuthi Sizodlulela ke kwabaphumelele ku Tier 3 oqala uMS Mthembu Trading Enterprise oku General Manufacturing of Blocks sizocela sondele ngaphambili semuphi ihlombe elikhulu singasabi ngehlombe ngesikhathi sondela socela landelwe abaka Has Clean owethu bona abakwi recycling ku renewable energy asibapheni ihlombe basondela bebe belandelwa ikhaya beauty professionals abakwi general beauty basondele nabo ngaphambili Sijabula kakhulu ukubona imbokodo imelelekile kakhulu kuyasijabulisa kakhulu and abanye babo siyababona basebancane impela siyaqhubha Siyabonga kakhulu ababe besondela kabalandelayo olandelayo uDalifa Enterprise okwi manufacturing of furniture sijabula kakhulu Ndonga ungasondela nemphihlombe uNdonga isondela siye kwi Marisburg Sand and Plant Hire abakwi General Construction bangasondela ngaphambili bese siza ku Good Life Food Kipro Dairy abakwi agro processing manufacturing of dairy products sondelani kakhulu umama Gumede Sibonga kakhulu ngesikhathi bethatha ngizocela laba abathatha abalandelayo uchila nathi concept okuyi general event management company uCoco Heaven ama blocker okwi construction bese sicela no umnyanyiza game reserve abakwi tourism basondele ngaphambili bobathathu bathatha into zabo asibapheni ihlombe elikhulu kakhulu Okay. Siyadlulela ke phambili uzobiza abathathu ukuthi babe besondela nabo amaqiniso General Trading abakwi General Bakery one of Operation Vula Commodities sibize iBuild on the Rock Construction abakwi General Construction bese sigcina ngoVuma Seeds and Projects okwi Agri Business ababe besondela ke beba ngaphambili Asibapheni ihlombe sibe sidlulela phambili. Siyakulukwande PTY Ltd abakwi General Beauty. Besikade sibuzile uVuma Seats if ekhona Vuma Seats sacela sondele. Ulukwanda PTY okwi General Beauty, Opa Novelties okwi Manufacturing and Creative Industry. Siyajabula ukubona imbokodo, siyajabula ukubona abantu abasebancane, siyajabula ukubona amabhizinisi aqhubekayo njengoba sazi ukuthi Operation Vula Fund utargeta amabhizinisi asebenzayo vele, hayi abantu abasenemqondo nje ukuthi bacabanga ukuqala ibhizinisi. Kusijabulisa kakhulu ke lokho. Okay, asibapheni ihlombe elikhulu kakhulu ke bese silandela ngabanye. Shalom Farming and Consulting okwi agribusiness abasondela abaka Shalom. Umagudulela group abakwi General Business Dealing. Legacy Group abakwi manufacturing of tents mabe ngasondela abathatha izinto zabo ama representatives amathathu. Anke nishayile ihlombe nje imbokodo eningi kangaka esencane nentsha encane amabhungu kuyajabulisa impela ukubona lokho. Okay. Asibapheni ihlombe ke bese sibiza abokuthathu bokugcina. Abokugcina uLodumo Property Development okwi Property Development, uQueen Laundromat okwi Clothing and Textile kanye noMadladleni Textile and Clothing okwi Clothing and Textile. uLodumo akasondele noQueen B Laundromat kanye noMadladleni Textile and Clothing. Okay, njengoba kade sengichazileke sesiqedile ngohlelo la ka Tier 2 no Tier 3 la eMgungundlovu. Sekuhamanye ama district azobenefita manje uhlelo esesizolandela-ke sesizobuyela ku-tier 1. Ku-tier 1 uhlelo solusebenzisa ngoba bona sesibathengela izinto zabo kuwona amasheke. Ngizodedela kwi-team ezobe ilidwa udadewethu Babalwa nomnumzane uMtshali. Baqale ngicabanga sebeyabizile ama-beneficiary ka-tier 1 kule mpahla ezingakwazanga ukungena kwi-showroom ezingaphandle kunemoto nemishini ekhona. Socela babalide-ke bahambe bayi-hand over kuma-beneficiaries ngaphandle. Mase sibuya-ke amanye ama-beneficiary ka-tier 1 azobe sefakiwe ngale ndlini eqondene nempahla zawo khona abaholi bethu bezokwazi ukuthi bathathe iy'thombe nabo mase bengene ngale ku-exhibition room. Can I hand over to you-ke Mr. Mtshali noBabalwa ukuthi nilide icukuthwane to hand over the equipment that is outside, starting with that one, and then we'll end with the equipment that is in the exhibition room. So the tier 1 beneficiaries, they can start coming through. Siyabonga. First comes first.
Wonderful day. Oh yes. Lelicula limthanda umuntu onamamuthi. Ohleka ngoba kuthanda yena. Osabisa ngobuso. Kodwa lifuna umuntu osmayila kukuhle noma kukubi. Walibona icula uthi linamandla mangabe ubona usibuchonce veza amazinyo kulobu yabusuku. Ake ngibona abantu Wonderful day.
ushaya izandla kakhulu kikisa.
His candy sword